Hello, everyone. Welcome to Drawing Basics, Part 11. I got some exciting news. I mean, really depends on how you take it. For one, this session is going to be very interesting. I think you guys will enjoy it. It's going to be pretty informative in general, and I'm looking forward to illustrating it from you guys. And the other part is going to be just announcing some changes that are going to happen in the future. I will be changing the hours. I decided that it's better I stream starting at 8 p.m. every day for 2 hours. And instead of having 4 different streams, I'm just going to have one stream of, like, let's say drawing basics. Figure drawing basics will be on Monday from 8 until 10. And then Tuesday, it's going to be drawing comics from 8 until 10. And Wednesday will be the project stream from 8 until 10. And Thursday is going to be coloring comics from 8 until 10. I think it's just better that way. I'm going to have more time. I always talk about how I wish I had more time doing something because I'm so into it, or I'm in the zone for it. Like whether it's the basics stream or it's the comic stream or the project stream, I'm always, I feel like I'm lacking time. And just when I'm about to get more into it and really get into the zone of it, I have to cut the stream and go to the next one. So I think it just works out better this way. Mainly, I just wanted to introduce all these streams to you guys. Felt like that's one of the best ways to do it, just starting out. So you guys get an idea of what each stream is like, what the content is like, and now just being able to switch over and focus more on each one for 2 hours instead of just one. So starting, I believe, starting tomorrow, I think it's good to start at 8 p.m. So tune in then, guys. I will be posting updates when I'm going to go live on all the social media. That's listed on the site, on the Twitch site. You guys can check out the links to each one of them. I post on them pretty regularly. So you can get updates. You could also subscribe. You'll get a notification when I'm going live. And yeah, so with that said, let's jump into today's lesson, which is really great. This one I've been looking forward to. I think it highlights a lot of mistakes that people make. Some mistakes that I've made when I was learning as well, and I noticed, I was like, wow, yeah, it's really true. And I also noticed when I was teaching drawing that a lot of students, beginners, were making these mistakes as well. So just interesting how this book that I am working from highlights all those things, and it's very accurate about it. And it really points out these very common mistakes. So I'll be sharing that with you guys and talking about it on the stream. But before we do that, I just wanted to do a quick review, and this is something that I want to have often. Now, the only downside is going to be that the basics class is going to be only once a week. You know, that's something that I don't really enjoy. So I don't know. I might have to add in basics every day, because I would like to help you guys improve your drawing. And the way you do it isn't once a week. You have to practice at least 3 to 4. At least 3, I'm going to say. Once is better than nothing, of course. But to really see some improvement, it is highly recommended that you draw at least 3 times a week and put in an hour Even half an hour is better than nothing, but put in an hour is good. 2 hours is great. 3 hours is really good, and anything above that is excellent. But yeah, I guess I have to still kind of figure out this scheduling and how much of Drawn Basics I can try to push in through the week. Yeah, so let's just review what we went over yesterday. And I will do a full review of everything else tomorrow. So here we have just more examples of range of motion and the idea of ball and socket and how that really plays into the figure. These are just various examples, and the idea is to just build your visual library as much as possible to help you imagine the figure in your imagination more vividly, knowing that there's these specific principles and rules to the body and to the figure. So the more you draw them, the more you understand them individually, the better it's ingrained in your mind. And when you're working from imagination, you can always refer to it a lot easier. It's the same thing as I mention this frequently as learning the alphabet. You don't have to recite the alphabet anymore, right? You just read. But in the beginning, you had to memorize it. You had to remember A to Z. You had to remember how to pronunciate them. And that took time. That's something that you learned over repetition. And now it's like in your imagination. It's just something you recall instantaneously within a nanosecond. You don't even have to think about it, really. You just read. So it's the same thing with this. The anatomy is your alphabet. The anatomy and the human figure and all these different principles, that's your alphabet. And you're just learning the alphabet now, if you're starting out, so that you can refer to it within a nanosecond when you are drawing the figure, when you're drawing it from the imagination, when you're even using it for references. Like if you have references, you can still refer to this. For example, in my project stream, I'm drawing from a reference that is from a video, so it's not very clear cut. There's some things that are there that lack detail. I can't really find out what exactly that shape looks like in the image. It's kind of blurry. So it's easier to refer to this, from what you've learned about hands, what you've learned about the leg and the muscles and how it's shaped, to be able to maybe fill in the blank in cases like that, when you are doing a reference from an image that you really like, but you can't get a more clear example or sample. So yeah, this is basically what we were doing for the past couple of days. We were just trying to build up this visual library, build up the human figure in our imagination, so that we could instill it more, ingrain it more, and by drawing all these different parts, understanding the range of motion for each part, like we have here. For example, if you were to stand straight and without tilting over to one side to balance out the other, try to raise your leg, see how far it can go, and you'll find that it's very much like this example. You can't extend the leg much further than the example here without either tilting to the side or, well, yeah, that's pretty much it. So you'll see that these examples, these drawings, really do depict accurate representation of the range of motion and a limit within the body, depending on the position that you're in. So in this example, try lifting your arms all the way to the top and having them touch the backhand of your backhands, basically. you won't be able to do it if the hand is facing down, if your palm is facing out in both arms. It's just not possible. The whole ball and socket idea just won't allow that for our body to happen until you twist them and then you put and you face the palms towards each other. Then you could connect the hands together. Then that's possible. So this just kind of demonstrates, what again, the range of motion and the limit depending on the position of the arm. The same thing for the leg. And over here is another example. From here we have side to side. Here we have front to back. So you could tell that towards the front of the body, the range of motion is a lot greater. Towards the back, going backwards, and if you keep the leg straight, that's as far as you could go without bending it. And you could test this out all yourself again. You could just stand up straight and see how far back you could extend your leg. And again, all of this is just to help you understand and visualize and ingrain the human figure in your mind's eye, aka your imagination. Same thing for the leg here. As far as bending goes, if you raise your leg from your knee towards the back, towards your butt, you'll see that you can't connect it. You can't connect your ankle, your heel to your butt without the help of your hand. So that just demonstrates the limit of range of motion. And when you're drawing a figure, the last thing you want to do is break up the reality of a pose. So if you, let's say, draw it really well, draw it anatomically correct, it looks proportionate, but the pose itself is breaking this rule in a sense, it's going to make your entire image look bad. It's just going to break the fourth wall in a sense. As far as the viewer is going to see that, oh wait, there's something off about this, so that kind of takes them out of the moment and out of the scene that you're trying to convey onto the paper or into the character. It's going to just break that fourth dimension. And fourth dimension is another example of it. It's like acting, for example, right? You're watching a movie and you see somebody and they're reading a script literally, like they're not even acting. It just they're acting, quote unquote, they're on camera, but when they're acting as the character, it just sounds like they're reading a script. So it just kind of takes you out of it, and you're like, oh, this is so staged. Whereas there are movies you watch and the actor is so great that it depicts this reality as if this is actually happening. It just puts you into that mode for the time being. So that's what I mean when I say breaking the fourth dimension. You just don't want to take the viewer out of what you're trying to convey in your image, and by paying attention to these limitations when you're drawing the figure, it just helps you develop that more, more of a convincing, well put out image. And I've noticed that sometimes as well, like even in very, very professional artists, they sometimes make these mistakes where like maybe the eye is a little bit way too big as opposed to the other one, or the head is a little bit, looks a little bit warped or skewed or distorted, and that kind of breaks it up. It's like, I'm no longer part of the scene anymore. I'm kind of taken out of it, and I'm realizing that it's just a drawing and stuff. So yeah, this kind of helps do that as well as just reinstill anatomy, reinstill proportion, and that sort. So I highly encourage everyone to try and draw that out. So with that said, let's jump into today's lesson. The do's and don'ts. And this is what this session is going to be. And we are going to start off by talking about the idea of drawing through. You want to avoid doing outlines, despite actually that being how I started to draw. I started to just do the outline of an image or the figure. It's better to actually draw it out, because then you're understanding the 3-dimension of what you're drawing, and that allows you eventually to just manipulate it in any direction that you want it to be. Once you start to draw it and understand it in this like 3-dimensional context, it's easier, as opposed to just sticking to the outlines of something. And by that I mean, like, I'm gonna draw this cup real quick, like just that. One way you're kind of sculpting something, you're understanding its dimensions all around. It's really making it more tangible in your mind's eye. You could almost like flip the cup all around in any direction in your imagination once you start to draw in this 3-dimensional kind of perspective. Whereas this just kind of limits you to, what am I seeing? Let me just draw that. And that's pretty much it. You're not really constructing the object in your imagination as well. You're just limiting it to, I'm trying to nail down this image as exactly as it is. I won't say that there is no benefit to it, but this definitely helps. Like, if you're really good at doing the outline, that's excellent, but challenge yourself to take it to the next level so that you won't feel so restrained by just outlines. You could start building your mind's eye and your imagination by drawing things out and drawing them through. Just to demonstrate this idea. So that's one of them. And this kind of talks about the same idea. If you're drawing something flat, say you're drawing this square, it's better to try to draw things 3-dimensionally because of, this top principle. When you're drawing something through all around it, in this manner of like trying to understand parts of the figure, for example. And another example would be of that, like, let's say if you're drawing the torso, right? And you got the arm here. As you could see, I'm still kind of drawing it through the torso. You could still see the exterior or the back boundary of the torso, right? So that's what I mean when I say drawing it through. You're able to really understand how the body parts sit on the object. So for example, let's say the arm is towards the back. It's kind of facing away from the camera, right? And this may look a little bit confusing, but as you get used to it, you start to switch in between. So I'm gonna just make this line a lot more solid to pop out the image more, so you guys could understand better what I mean when I say drawing it through. This is the neck here. This is the head. So as you see, the parts that are darker, they're the ones that are visible, basically. And the parts that are light They just indicate the spot for the object or the part of the body. So in this case, this would be an indication of where the arm would be. On the torso, if the torso isn't straight, isn't a straight view. If the torso is kind of facing more towards the side. This is just another example. Excuse me. And this is just another example. This is the pelvic area. I'm going to draw both. I'm going to say ports, right? Let's just say ports, sockets for the legs. So since it's all, I'm going to follow the pattern here. He's kind of angled here. So now I could just build the leg for the other side, even though it's facing away, it's at an angle. To help me draw it in proportion. So just another example of drawing something through. Following the principle that hands should be well past the groin area, something that we talked about before. I'm going to draw this one slightly in perspective. But just wanted to demonstrate a good example of drawing something through. The parts that are dark, they're more visible. The parts that are light, like back here, they're just placeholders basically, just so that you know. As you can see the same here, this is like a socket and as a whole. This is another example of the socket as a whole, here as well, here as well. And they just kind of help you build it. Build a figure using these principles. So try not to draw the exterior only, by just outlining everything like this and then that, so forth. You'll nail down the reference, but what you will be shortchanging yourself with is not being able to manifest or create the figure from your imagination, and just move it around in any direction that you want it to, because you just practiced how to outline the image or the figure, not understanding it anatomically and thoroughly. That's the biggest difference. So this example, this idea of 3-dimension, trying not to cram it in, but just to demonstrate. But the other example is pretty much the same. It is the same idea of construction versus outlining. You know, this is what I just demonstrated here, as opposed to this, you know, or this. It's the same principle. You want to draw out the body in its 3D form. Following these basic shape principles to make it easier for yourself. Less intimidating to have to draw the figure knowing that, oh, these are just cylinder shapes really. And depending on how much you practice them, it becomes easier and easier to do. I don't know about this soundtrack. I'm not sure I want to listen to the Chipmunks. Let's see if that's going to be like an ongoing thing. So 3D, drawing in 3D versus drawing the outlines. Outlining versus construction. Yeah, just give me a second, guys. I'm gonna switch this. And as you can see, if you're doing the outline, you might end up making, let's say, this a little bit lower, right? As a mistake. This side of the hip lower and this one higher. Because you're not really trying to sketch out the part of the body on its own. You're just going based off of the outline. And that becomes more tedious to look out for all these little details. You're like, oh, is this side higher than this side? Did I go a little too high on this side? And then it's just going to throw off the proportion of the entire figure if you don't pay attention to that. Whereas if you break it down into these different sections, you draw them based off of, you know, a cylinder shape or a more simplified shape, and you draw them through as opposed to just the outlines, you'll get better results that way. So no to this, yes to that. Same thing here, just to give you guys more visual aid. Now this is just another example of proportion, right? Using the head as the unit of measurement, making sure that you understand those principles that we were discussing earlier about how the head and what exactly are the unit of measurements for the body. using the head. So this is an example of it being proportionate. Let's just assume that measurement has been done. Remember, the width of the forearm is about half a head. So it shouldn't be too wide in order to make sure that it's proportionate. Three heads as far as the width. Now remember, you're just drawing the ideal forms at the moment. You can exaggerate later once you're more familiar with the figure, with the anatomy of it all. You can exaggerate these parts, but first, it's better you understand these foundations. So this is an example of the human figure in respects to these proportions. To these principles of head measurement and how it plays into the body. And this right here is going to be an example that people make mistakes in. Can you guys notice the difference? Look at the size of that arm rather, it's huge. It just doesn't make sense in comparison to the body. Now again, you could exaggerate this stuff later. You know, you do see that a lot in animation and just like characters that have like humongous arms and so on and so forth, but it works because they understand the rest of the figure so well. They could draw the rest of the figure so well. You know, if they wanted to, everything else would look right, and you could see that, and it's evident in the other parts of their drawing. Whereas if you're doing this from the get-go, and when you need to draw something that is proportionate, but you're still struggling with it, And that's just saying that you need to understand these basic principles first before you jump into exaggeration and so on and so forth. It's like not bothering to understand the alphabet and trying to read like the most complicated text. You know, it's just not going to work out well. You're not going to be able to anyway. So it's just just an example. Look out for that stuff. Keep in mind the principles of proportion and how the head is used as a unit of measurement for everything. So another reason why it's important to start with the head, because if you don't, then you have nothing to measure the rest of the body in. You could start off with drawing the torso, you could add the arm, but if you have nothing that kind of gives you an idea of like, well, how wide should it be? How long should it be? So it's great to draw everything three-dimensionally, drawing it through, and also using the head as a unit of measurement to maintain proportion. So another common mistake, this is the right one, and this is the mistake right here. So moving on, and this is something that I discussed in a previous streams as well, in the reviews. Let's say you got really good at drawing the cylinder shape, right? And that's excellent. You've overcome the first obstacle. You've learned something that's extremely crucial to the figure. As you can see, it's pretty much comprised of cylinder shapes. Now you want to start giving them more definition, or you want to play with their shape more to resemble human figures. As you could see, for example, the upper part of the leg, it's not a cylinder completely. It does taper off towards the knees. So once you get that, you want to be able to follow the same principle, still cylinder shape, but now you're kind of altering its shape. You're molding it, you're sculpting it with the pencil. And instantly it starts to resemble more of like the bottom part of the leg. Tapering it off. Or the forearm. You know, it's the same idea. Once you start adding more muscle, it really does start to take more shape of human body parts. So don't keep it too basic. Shape it. It's great that you learn the cylinder shape, but the next step is changing and altering its shape. And that helps you understand muscles as well. Like, where are the crucial curves, indents, narrowing points within the human figure. So step 1 is the basic shape. Step 2 is starting to pay attention to the shapes of the human figure and altering your basic shapes to be similar. Now the other one is foreshortening. This one is a little bit more complicated. I still want to hold off on that. You know, I think that for now we're just going to focus more on the figure, but I'll do a quick demonstration just so that you guys get more familiar with the term. This is the object in a flat kind of straightforward view, right? Your cup, let's just say, your cylinder shape. That's altered. Let's just say cup for this example, for the foreshortening example. So this is a straightforward drawing of it. Now we're going to have it tilt more, or the angle, or the camera rather, is going to come up or the cup is tilting more towards you, let's just say. Notice how the base of the cup, and the top of it is becoming more and more round. It's rounding off. And then let's do one that's like really high up. Let's say the camera is really high up, or you're really standing over the glass. See how like the sides also shrunk drastically? And it's become more round on both the base and the top. So this is an example of foreshortening. And this could be, you know, the hand, for example. Just a quick demonstration. If you add that towards the bottom, and really it's like, let's say if it's pressing down onto the table, it'll taper off even more, or the hand would be even less visible. Just as a quick demonstration of foreshortening and how that could help you draw the figure even more so. So this is like just an example. But actually, let's follow this. Let's follow it through. This is, let's say, the base of the arm, right, where it connects to the rest of it. Ooh, it's becoming really messy in here. Just trying to demonstrate how drawing through plays into this as well. So that's your idea of foreshortening. It is more challenging, that's for sure. But we'll, like I was mentioning, we'll get more into that later. For for now, we're just going to stick to more basic principles. This is probably just another example of it. So we got the arm here. Right, this is the shoulder. And this is just not paying attention to what we were talking about before, the unit of measurement. Using the head as a unit of measurement. It's not the same size. Like, as you could see, it's like, in this drawing, the upper part of the arm is almost as long, if not, it's as long as the second half of the arm, the wrist area. And that just looks weird. Because then on top of that, you got the hand. And now it's an extra long. Extra long hand. That looks weird, doesn't it? Now if we're going to draw it again in perspective. This is the shoulder. And this is a common mistake that people make as well, because they just don't see this foreshortening concept. Those are the fingers right there. See how it's extra long? If he was to extend it, like this is at a angle facing the camera. So if he was to really stretch it out, it would be incredibly long, because that means the elbow is like right there. That's where the other half of the arm would be. But really, it ends right here. Just another example of drawing it through. So it just wouldn't make sense. It wouldn't look like this. It wouldn't be at its full full length at this angle. It would be, and you could even demonstrate it. You could see for yourself in front of a mirror. Just try to raise it up and notice in the camera or in the mirror, whatever it is, how far down it goes in respect to the other part of the arm. What this would look like would be basically this. Visually, it just kind of helps demonstrate it better than trying to verbally explain it. Basically, this is what this image is signaling. That the forearm is so long that if you raise it up, it's at the level of the shoulder. Even if you look at the mirror and you look at this position, you will see how it's curving more towards the back. So these three examples are just showing the common mistake that people make when it comes to drawing the arm and what to avoid. Look out for these details. Now I'm just going to do another example. showing the right way. What a difference, right? It's a little bit easier when you have a visual aid to understand and compare and see like what looks right in this example. So which one would you say? Then to demonstrate this again, it's in respect to the other joint. It's turning in respect to the joint area, the ball and socket concept here. And then it would look more so like this. And this is more of like a foreshortening concept again, which I wanted to, like I was telling you guys earlier, I just want to hold off on that because it is a little bit more confusing, especially if you're just starting out. It's way more challenging, and before you jump into that, I really encourage to just understand the human figure better, understand how the head fits into the body more, and that idea. So these are nose, and these are the correct ways. So I think I am going to cut it off here, guys, for the Drawing Basics stream. Stick around for Drawing Comics, which is going to start in 5 minutes. Just going to take a quick break. Yeah, if you enjoy the content, subscribe, hit the like button. Check out the social media. I'll be posting updates about the hours there once I just give it a little bit more thought, especially because, like I was mentioning, I would like to have the Drawing Basics class more frequently. Perhaps maybe I'll just do a quick overview for you guys, and instead of doing like an entire stream, if I'm doing, let's say, Drawing Comics, I could take like 10 minutes, 15 minutes out of the 2 hours to just do like a quick overview of like these drawing principles and things that we discussed, just to refresh your memory, encourage you guys to keep practicing, encouraging you guys to keep drawing, remembering all these guides. You know, you don't want to sit through 2 hours each time of a session to just remember certain things that are important, like drawing lightly, keeping it light, making sure that you draw out the shapes, not the outlines. not holding your pencil too close to the tip, keeping a distance from it, learning to be comfortable with that. Don't give it death grip and free up a little bit, loosen up your drawings, your sketch process. The first stage of you trying to draw out the figure or object or whatever else, just quick loose lines. Draw in your sketchbook regularly. Get yourself a small one, something this big, not huge. You could easily bend it, put it in your pocket, put it in a book bag, carry it around with you when you have free time. You're sitting on public transportation, you're taking a break from whatever it is. You could just sit there and sketch, do some gradation challenges, fill up the page as much as possible with gradations, making sure the transition is good, that sort of thing. So I'll probably be just doing quick little reviews, and then jumping into, I would say, an hour and a half left, hour 40 minutes, depending on how quick the overview is going to be. But yeah, stick around, check out the social media. I'll post you guys. I'll keep you up to date on what's going on. I'll see you guys in 5 minutes.